DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about cow nutrition, we're going to talk about water, we're going to talk about mineral, we're going to talk about all things to do with your cows in the summertime. We got Dr. Mark Sparrow here. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned.
At Merck Animal Health, we wake up each day seeking new innovations to keep your herd healthy. This is why we're proud to now include All-Flex Livestock Intelligence in our portfolio of solutions. With All-Flex, we can provide the tools to identify, monitor, and trace each animal within a herd. Its state-of-the-art offerings deliver real-time insights to help you optimize productivity. Merck Animal Health and All-Flex Livestock Intelligence for our animals, our industry, and our future.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. Look who we got back.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Dan. It's good to be back today. Hopefully I don't have any poop on my face.
Well, you've been working.
Yes, sir.
So it is appropriate in our line of work.
We sometimes are on the back end, that's right.
That's right. That's why I keep telling our students that, you know, if you graduate from our classes and someone says you don't know crap, I said you need to say stop. There's, you know, I may not know a lot about a lot of things, but I do understand bovine feces quite well.
We know a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. So this is Dr. Mark Sparrow, DVM, PhD, brilliant cow-calf veterinarian nutritionist that is just, you're one of those that if you're looking for the Tom Brady or the, I know he's going to start looking away. I'm going to embarrass him, but this is a first round draft pick right here, and career has just taken off, and so very humbled to have you here and grateful for you. Let's talk about. He practices Ashland to Manhattan and well beyond, but. Here across the state of Kansas, across the Midwest and beyond, if it has something to do with the cow, you're more than likely to find Mark Sparrow involved. And so it's, let's talk a little bit about, you know, as we tried to set this up today, we had some buckets and things we want to talk about. But let's start out with talking about water supply and your cow herd this summer.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I have to say Tom Brady was not the first round draft pick. He was the last pick in that draft. But I think his daughter wants to be a veterinarian, so if she's watching, you can do it. You come on, join us sometime, and can become a veterinarian. But yeah, so let's talk about water, and I think we've got a number of really good tools that we can use to evaluate water. When we think about water, we think about number one, if we're in the context of spring calving cows, and as they're lactating, their water needs are really through the roof. You know, maybe not as much as a dairy cow on a consistent basis, but as those calves are drinking more, they're producing milk to their genetic ability and their nutritional limitations. Those cows are drinking a lot of water. They need a lot of water, and so we need to make sure that they're not limited in terms of fresh water. Next, we have to think about anti-nutritional factors of that water, and some of our listeners or our watchers in the North Dakota, and some here as we're discovering in the southern tier Kansas counties, we might end up with some sulfate issues.
Yep.
And sulfate, you know, you might be able to smell that, the kind of the rotten egg smell. It might come in tandem with iron. It might come in tandem with some molybdenum. But some of these minerals are actually going to antagonize the absorption of our other minerals. sulfate is one that I want to bring up because when cows, if they're going to go ahead and drink the water, and that's going to do its antagonism work in the body, it might also show up in something that we see in terms of condition. And we can actually have calves, and North Dakota State has done a really good job of documenting this in terms of their extension, but we can have calves on cows who are forced to drink high sulfate water, who, if it is not high enough to cause polio or brainers, it will cause those cows to milk less. Those calves, as they drink it, will gain less, and we will actually see decreased conception, decreased body weights on both cow and calf coming off the grass. And we've run into this in a couple of situations in this, like I said, south central Kansas. We've been working to identify those water sources. This is a great time of year to be looking at those water sources as that water is collecting, is maybe down. We're dry right now. We're going to concentrate as many of those salts. And if you go out there and look at the sulfates right now, this might be a really good time of year to go ahead and test those in a concentrated form. We can go look at those later in June, July, and see if there's any changes that we can identify.
Yep, and you know, good, clean, ample water supply. We got about 30 seconds. Blue-green algae too, right?
Absolutely. It's blue-green algae is kind of an odd duck in terms of it might show up in places that we don't expect, and I'm not 100% able to say whether that's all due to farming runoff or if there's other nitrogen phosphorus accumulations that might occur, but that can be a real killer, and it'll get your dog too.
Yep, you got to be careful with the pooch. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Dr. Mark Sparrow. We're going to jump into some grass quality. You're watching DocTalk. We're glad you joined us.
Innovative low-stress cattle handling equipment is key to efficiency and safety. At Daniels Manufacturing Company, we design systems using the best materials. We work with top producers from all over the world who use Daniels products on their operations. We concentrate on quality, prioritizing the safety of the animals and their handlers. Each product is carefully crafted and inspected to ensure your system will last for many years. Whether your operation is small or large, Daniels Manufacturing Company can design a facility to meet your needs. Visit us online or call to see how we can improve your cattle handling facility.
Nasalgen 3 is a new 3-way intranasal BRD vaccine that offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, BRSV, and PI3. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose new Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only 5-way intranasal vaccine on the market. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Mark Sparrow, who is a DVM PhD. He's a practitioner, he's a nutritionist, seeing cattle and talking nutrition and production medicine in herds and feeding cattle, doing a little bit of everything, aren't you?
I take careful notes from you, Dr. Thompson.
Don't do that. Now, you get too busy. Not that I'm any busier than him. Now, let's talk about grass quality.
Yes, sir.
And as we go through the summer, what are some things that you're kind of focusing on or talking to ranchers or beef producers about?
Absolutely. Maybe we'll start with a case in point, and it would have been my first year out of veterinary school, and I wanted to be real confident as a pregnancy diagnostician. And so as we get into these cows, and I'm starting to get into some of these cows, again, we're finding ourselves in the southern tier of Kansas counties, and the grass had been really good, and I get into this set of cows, and they're not very pregnant. And I mean not very pregnant. And I thought, either I'm really wrong, or these cows are really open.
Yeah.
And those cows were really open, and come to find out, we sat on back of the pickup after we got done, and this would have been early October, and we got to thinking about when those cows had become pregnant. And we went through a pretty good period of time there where those cows had become pregnant right after the bulls were turned in, so late May, 1st of June, and then they'd stopped getting pregnant. And then we had a couple late breds on there. And so the majority of those cattle were either pregnant early or pregnant really late, but not very many in the middle. And what we began to think about, we had gotten really good rain early on, and then it got really hot and dry in middle of June all the way through July, and really hot and dry, to the point that that grass was noticeable to the rancher, that it really burned up. And then those cows, we got a couple late rains there in August, late August, and those cows started cycling again. And I can't quote a paper on this, Dr. Thompson, but my conjecture was that the quality of that grass had degraded to a point that those cows quit cycling, that their lactational needs outpaced their reproductive needs. And we'd call reproduction on the bottom of that, nutritional distribution. So that's a case in point. Another case that we would have that year would have been a ranch that turned out for April breeding, January calving, and that those cows were so pregnant and so good looking at the time that we preg checked them. But they had all their breeding done before that grass got really burned up. And so my recommendation that's come from that, and we've seen it repeated over and over, and not just always in southern Kansas, sometimes it's in eastern Kansas. And if we're hot and dry this year in the Flint Hills, we might have some of those issues. We could see it up in Nebraska if we're hot and dry. But my recommendation as we look at those is that we observe that grass quality, and we also take the time as managers, and it takes time and it's hard to put forth that effort, but to go out and watch and see if we see that activity, see those breedings going on, those matings going on. And if we don't really see a lot of activity, they're either really pregnant or they're not cycling. But they should be cycling if the nutrition is there, and if they're not pregnant, they are in that eligible pool.
The other thing is when you get in those hot dry as a somewhat of a behaviorist, those bulls will quit. In the really hot weather,
Yep.
if they're uncomfortable, so the combination of you're losing your grass,
Yep.
the cows are in peak, they're lactating, they're losing body condition, they're
Yep.
not going to cycle.
Yep.
The bulls are hot.
Yeah, it can really hinder that bottom line, and it makes for a good conversation, but a conversation I really don't like to have as your veterinarian.
Well, it goes back to, we got to go to break, but it also goes back to the importance of preg checking.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to keep those cows around all winter that aren't going to make a living for you.
That's right. And we'll start to see those cyclones going on, and you think, boy, you girls ought to have been pregnant. Yeah. And it might be confusing. All of a sudden, as a clinician, as a veterinarian, get on the back end of that November, December, and what else is on your rule list? Did these cattle become pregnant and then abort? Were they ever pregnant? Do we have some disease going on? And do we get a neighbor's bulls come in and now we have some trichomoniasis? So back to your comment about the importance of preg checking, that helps us rule out some of those other diseases because we're confident those cattle weren't pregnant.
As we leave, remember what he's talking about is observing. Don't take things for granted. Observe the grass quality, observe the behavior in the matings. You just got to watch. If things quit, things change, it's not normal.
Houston, we got a problem.
We got a problem. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
The Alertus on-farm pregnancy test for us has been unbelievable time saver because we can do it whenever we want. My favorite part about Alertus on-farm, we can get results fast. In 20 minutes, whether that cow goes to pasture A, B, or C. It's just very efficient. It's going to make you a lot of money. You're not going to have open cows standing there all winter looking at you, and you can do it on your time.
They're here, they're hungry, and they can't be stopped with ivermectin. Choose Safeguard when you deworm your cattle to take out resistant parasites like brown stomach worm, Cooperia, Nematodirus, and others. With Safeguard's efficacy, you can kill more resistant worms in your cattle, so you don't leave potential on the table. Consult your veterinarian for the diagnosis and treatment of parasitism. Then bite back at safeguardworks.com.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Mark Sparrow. He has a DVM and a PhD. and is a practicing veterinarian, cow-calf, feedlot, beef supply chain, and works with both nutrition and with health, and is just somebody that is just a great friend. And so when we talk about, you're working with people, I'm sure they come in and say, well, what kind of minerals should I put out?
Yes, sir.
How much mineral should I put out?
Yes, sir.
So where do we start?
Well, and so we start by saying, and I want to, as that client comes in and says, hey, let's talk about mineral, and my first admission is, hey, we don't know all that we really want to know about all these minerals. We know some really good things, and we need to make sure we check those boxes in your mineral. We know that there's minerals that cows need, but I have to just say, in the back of my mind, before I prescribe a mineral, how many out of 88 million cows in the United States, how many beef cows only get a white block, a red block, and a yellow block? And that's all they get year round. And they still get pregnant, or pretty pregnant.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to go and make a recommendation that says, hey, we need to spend this mineral or spend this on our mineral because it's going to get us that amount of pregnancies. So probably my first conversation starter is, how much is our mineral going to cost us per head per day? And I know that I don't want to make it all about cost because it needs to be about quality, but that's how I think of, and yeah, we can think about it in terms of a per bag price, but you break down that bag, and if you have a 4-ounce consumption mineral, you got 200 servings in that bag, so you divide that price by 200, and now you get your price per head per day, and then you carry that out on 365 days to know how much you're spending on a mineral in a given year. Then we're going to go talk about what's in that in terms of calcium level. What kind of calcium level do we need? I'm going to be honest, I recommend we lower a lot of phosphorus in our minerals. We overspend commonly on phosphorus and underspend on calcium. There's a lot of research that might be older that would have us putting more phosphorus in there, and I find that challenging in terms of a cost and in terms of necessity. We talk about blue-green algae. We don't need to go throw out a bunch of phosphorus out there. So then on our magnesiums, whether we're actually grazing cool season or warm season grasses, whether we need to be high mag, and even how high is high mag mineral. That's another question that we're going to talk about. We can put so much magnesium in there that cows don't want to eat it, and that's not good. We can have a really nice mineral, but if it sits there in that feeder, it doesn't do us any good.
Right.
Skipping down to some trace mineral type deals, I think Iowa State has done a great job of giving us some tools. I feel very comfortable recommending a trace mineral package that's made up of 20 to 25% of Avela-4 type minerals.
Yep.
So chelated minerals, not necessarily Avela-4 only, but chelated minerals. When we have cattle on a very nice balanced nutritional plane year round, we can handle them with that. And there's some really good information that came from Iowa State, and we won't quote it now. It's a great study, and everybody ought to go read it. Then we'll talk back to our sulfate issue. We want to pressure zinc quite a bit, and our chelated guys are going to say, hey, put more and more and more zinc in there, but we can actually get to a point, at least on the sulfate side, which is a different inclusion type of mineral, that we can outcompete some other minerals. So we want to have all that we need, but we want to stay balanced, and some of these minerals can get out there in terms of over providing, and that can actually be a problem.
Yeah, we don't want to see that. So one of the other questions we get about minerals is about using IGR to control flies.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on IGR?
So my thoughts on IGR, and I always put it to them, it's a wonderful product. It works very well. We don't have a lot of challenges with resistance, but flies don't respect the barbed wire fence. And so if our neighbors aren't using it, I'm going to recommend that we don't use it either. It's just not worth the expenditure. If we've got a bunch of neighbors that are going to do it, or we've got everything on a section, there's some really important validity to that product, and it can help. And if the economic threshold of flies per cow is 200 flies per side, we exceed that very quickly in the months of late May and June and July. But if our neighbors aren't doing it, I'm going to say we better keep it at home.
Perfect. So, folks, minerals, get with a nutritionist. Work with somebody like Mark. Call Mark, but get somebody that can help you with understanding, so you're not overspending, and then make sure you're using products that, if it relates to whether your neighbor's using it or not, and it's expensive or it is a cost center, don't do it. So Dr. Sparrow, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Dr. Nels here, folks. We're super excited about this book on hiring. Have you made a bad hire? Have you hired someone you wish you wouldn't have? Are you looking to hire? It's a great short read on helping you in the hiring process. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, or find it at drnels.com. Check it out there. We'd love to see you there.
Innovative low-stress cattle handling equipment is key to efficiency and safety. At Daniels Manufacturing Company, we design systems using the best materials. We work with top producers from all over the world who use Daniels products on their operations. We concentrate on quality, prioritizing the safety of the animals and their handlers. Each product is carefully crafted and inspected to ensure your system will last for many years. Whether your operation is small or large, Daniels Manufacturing Company can design a facility to meet your needs. Visit us online or call to see how we can improve your cattle handling facility. ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with my friend and colleague, Dr. Mark Sparrow, who's a veterinarian here in Kansas, nutritionist, cow-calf production specialist, and you know, you've done a lot of work with anaplasmosis, and so let's kind of give the update as we head into summer and we're thinking about anaplasmosis. What are some of your thoughts?
Yes, sir. So, you know, to be honest, in our practice, in my practice, and the clients that we deal with, we're talking about several things right now. We're talking about whether we're going to use the vaccine or not. It comes out of Louisiana. We're talking about how often or what products we're going to use for fly control and tick control. We're talking about whether we're going to use an IGR, and we're talking about how often we're going to be feeding a medicated cake on grass, and what rate of cake that we're going to feed that. Again, cake prices are not all that amenable or easy to handle. That's,
yep.
I don't want to use a $20 word there when a $5 word will work, but easy to handle, easy to swallow. So those are the four pieces that we're probably talking about right now. The vaccine needs to be a conversation with your veterinarian, and you need to get with your veterinarian and say, hey, here's what we've seen in our cow herd. Here's what we know we've seen in the neighbor's cow herd. Is this something we need to be thinking about utilizing or not? And let them be a part of that and making a good decision in that. The vaccine is, I'm not going to say any vaccine is bulletproof, and I'm not going to say any vaccine is worth breaking the bank over, but if you don't expect too much, it might be a good fit for you. When we talk about fly control and what products we're going to apply, and tick control, and just remember, read the label, because not every fly control product controls ticks. In fact, there's very few that control both. And so very specifically, we want to make sure that if we're applying a spray midsummer and we're worried about anaplasmosis and we're worried about getting some tick control out of that we want to use one that uses both fly and tick control. Then we got to talk about whether we're going to feed a medicated cake. And we can feed a medicated cake. It's legal, it's allowable under the VFD regulations, and we will commonly balance cakes that we can feed on grass, that we can mix in or have mixed in an appropriate amount of CTC, and we can feed that. And in some places, maybe we feed it for 2 weeks at a time, and in some places it's a week, in some places it might be a month. And you need to understand it might be different fall cows versus spring cows. And it might be different if there's a calf present or not. So all those things, I think I would encourage everybody to have a conversation with their veterinarian to examine their risk level, their risk aversion, and then what tools are out there and are available to manage the risk of transmission of anaplasmosis within their herd.
So some big ticket items: water quality, grass quality, watch your cows, make sure we have normal behavior as both of those relate. Mineral to help fine tune and do that, and then you never even think about cake, fly control, and all that being tied into the nutritional process. We tend to put things in buckets, right? Vet buckets or nutrition buckets.
Yep.
What you're showing me is so cool that there are no buckets. It's all related.
Yeah. It which makes it a challenge. It makes for some late night conversation with your veterinarian, but it can be very fruitful in terms of getting ahead of some of these issues and having some of these tools. Have your spreadsheet made out. Hey, this pasture we're going to feed this much, this one's, here's all of our water sources, and here's the test, and here's what time of year they were taken. And get those tools put together. That data is a tool just the same as the ultrasound that I use when we ultrasound heifers.
Wealth of information. I promise we'll have him back. Dr. Mark Sparrow, thank you so much. Thanks for watching DocTalk. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian, and if you want to know more about what we do at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Mark Sparrow, and we'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.